Hello and good morning and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show for our weekly Leeds United latest video with myself, Stephen Brown, and also Mr. Jason Booker as well. Now, before we get started, please do all the good stuff, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, retweeting us if you're on X. We really appreciate it. Jason, how are you, my friend?
Very good, mate. Technical issues aside, starting this morning. I've got them out of the way nice and early.
I mean, it's been seamless. Absolutely seamless.
Yeah. Bang on time.
Bang on time, exactly. But yeah, appreciate you all waiting around for the video to start, but we will get cracking. Jason, a little bit of kind of transfer stuff to kind of talk about. I did a quick Leeds United Google search this morning, and it seems to be wall-to-wall Archie Gray updates. Seems to be picking up pace with Archie and a potential exit. Lots of links, lots of clubs getting thrown into it. So RB Leipzig kind of sniffing around now, and even that lot over the Pennines, a tenuous link there. Of course, we don't know how serious this is. I mean, certainly I don't know how much kind of contact there's been between Leeds and other clubs for Archie. I'm kind of starting to think that we might be potentially looking at an Archie exit, though. There seems to be some kind of murmurings about his camp kind of open to it, talking to potentially other teams like Borussia Dortmund, which obviously, I mean, you couldn't argue with that as a pathway, considering how Dortmund treat their talent and the stage they're playing on. Where are you at with the Archie Gray stuff? Are you starting to think, oh, there might be a chance that he could actually go? I mean, where's your head at it with?
I mean, I was never fully in the camp that I thought he would 100% stay this season. I thought that it made sense for him to have another season of development in the Championship at Leeds. Obviously, he's a massive Leeds fan, and it makes a big thing. You know, it's a big thing for him, the Gray dynasty, the family connection, and all the rest of it. You know, it is a big deal, but it's not the deal that it used to be. You know, when Eddie played for Leeds, or, you know, even you look a little bit further on of players where they would potentially drop down to a Leeds United in the Championship, or the first division at the time as it was, or the second division as it was from the first division. You know, people say, oh, Gordon Strachan dropped down to play for Leeds, and it's not the same. Times have changed, and, you know, the career's short, and the monies that you're talking, it's just levels and levels and leagues and leagues. Now, sure, he could say, no, I'm going to give it one more season, but them transfers might not be there then. You know, one bad injury and it could be over. So I do understand it. And, you know, I'm not, for me, I hope that whatever he does, he makes a decision that makes sense for his career, for him as a lad, because I'd love to be able to enjoy his career from being a Leeds boy and all the rest of it. You know, we've been in this situation before where some of us kind of heroes have gone off to Norwich or wherever, and it's always kind of been a bit of a dagger. If he goes off to Dortmund, he's got my blessing. I do believe there'll be conversations between him and Eddie where they'll be like, look, Archie, if you are absolutely adamant that you want to make this move, think about it long term. Manchester United, Chelsea, you were never stepping foot back in Ellen Road again. Yeah. And he doesn't need to make them moves. There's other clubs there. Not only that, but neither of them are the juggernaut that they were once upon a time. They're not winning Premier League after Premier League. Like when Alan Smith went there, I get it. As a mature adult, I get it. You know what I mean? At the time we were heartbroken, but I get it. They're not that anymore. He can pick wherever he wants. You know, if he did want to go to Man City, I'm willing to bet that they'd probably take him. Liverpool, I think, would be a great move for him. And then he can walk back into Ellen Road still as one of the Grey dynasty, as a hero. In years to come, he might come back to Ellen Road and leave.
We'll re-sign him when we're in the Champions League.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think there's a way that we can go about this move. And I think if it clears the PSR issues, I'm not against it. I'd like to see him come back on loan for a year, wherever he goes. I think that'd be good for him, for Leeds. But I do think that we need to be realistic with what we're going to get. And I think any club signing him is taking a bit of a gamble, given the fact that we've seen him play 45 times in midfield, in right back rather than in midfield. You're buying a midfielder. You're not buying a right back. You're buying the potential. And we don't really know how good he is in the midfield yet. We've only seen really one game against Chelsea. So
yeah, well, there was the highlights of that flying around on Twitter. I don't know if you saw that, and I was like, oh, I mean,
yeah. I mean, it was fantastic.
I mean, you couldn't have had a better shop window for him, could you? Really,
No.
FA Cup on on TV, and he put in a performance where he made Caicedo look like a clown. I mean, it was just a ridiculous performance. If you're not seeing that, Leeds fans, check that out. Yeah, it's an interesting one with Archie, and I think that term pure profit comes into it as well, like you say, for the PSR concerns. I mean, if you get a bit of a bidding war going, who knows what you can drive the price up to as well? Because I think Leeds are in maybe a stronger position to do that than maybe the Somerville position, possibly, where it feels like there's a definite ceiling there. And you can't really argue with it. I mean, this is another consequence of not getting the promotion, obviously. There would have been absolutely no talk of this if we'd have won promotion. And again, it's that thing of falling short of that. Like when we got relegated, there's just so much, so many consequences, things that you have to then look at. And look, I would be gutted from the point of view that this is, a player that's come through the Leeds ranks. It's the Gray dynasty and everything like that. But you're absolutely right, because a bad injury next season, something like that, and it's all over. There's no Dortmund, there's no Champions, it all flush down the toilet. So you totally understand. The money's going to be ridiculous.
Even form, Brownie. Even form. Like he has a mediocre season in the Championship next season. I'm sure he wouldn't, but if he did, don't get me wrong, the Silvers would still potentially be there because he'd still be very young. But people move on quickly. There's going to be another Archie Gray in the Championship next season. There's going to be another, up and coming prospect where these clubs are thinking, you know what, we'll go and spend his money there instead. So, it's moments within football. So I'm not ushering him out the door. I would love to see him stay and develop and grow with us, but I'm realistic with it.
Don't you think though as well? And if we're looking at it brutally honest, we can go back to some of our match reviews from maybe the last third of the season. There was a lot of times where we were saying Archie was underperforming or not quite at that exceptional level he'd been at. I mean, there was a few reviews where we kind of said he was one of the lesser players, to be all honest, and it's like, these teams scouting him, have they seen that aspect of it as well? Or, it's not all kind of sunshine and roses, is it?
I vividly remember saying to you, like, if we're going to give him the praise when it goes one way, we need to be critical of him when it goes the other. And if he's a first-team member of the squad, he gets treated like a first-team member of the squad. There were games like that where he weren't at it. Now, some of them, or a lot of them, were at right back, where, I also think some of it's instructional. We've had this debate before where he's not encouraged to bomb on, or he's the more defensive, while Junior is the more attacking on the other side, and all this kind of stuff. So, there is caveats to it. I'd love to see him have a season in midfield and see what he's actually about. I don't really know what his full role is. Is he box to box? Is he a deep lying playmaker?
Yeah, true.
Could he be a 10? And we've yet to see him score. Like he don't really get shots away.
He had a good record scoring though, didn't he? I mean, I remember some bangers going around, didn't he? You'd always see like a viral video of him smashing a goal in, and I was kind of like expecting maybe a little bit more goal threat. So I think you're spot on. It'll be interesting to see what is his actual full position when he gets it. Do you think next season, if he does stay, he will be the starter in midfield?
I think he'd be one of. I think that is where he would play the majority of his games. What worries me is that we sign a right back, or we don't sign a right back, and we're left with another right back that's at the club already, and he ends up bombing, and then Archie ends up being back in right back. I can see that happening already. We all know who I'm talking about when I say I don't really want to say his name. I don't want him to play for us, but I could see that happening. Again, maybe that's in the thinking. Maybe Daniel Farker's had a conversation with the board and Archie and said, look, there's a fair chance that you might end up playing some of this season at right back. And he's like, well, I don't want to play right back. I want to play in centre midfield, my position. And then he's thinking, well, I might as well take the opportunity to go and sign for Dortmund, or whoever. So
I definitely think when you mention like Chelsea and that lot as well. I wouldn't touch Chelsea with a barge pole if I was him. I would stay miles away from a situation like that. Yeah. You want to go to that right club that's going to help your development. Like a Dortmund or someone.
I can't understand the thought process when you've got all them options to then eventually settle and pick on Chelsea or Manchester United. I don't get it. Like, he clearly is a huge Leeds fan. He understands the Leeds fans. He understands what the club means to Eddie, his family as a whole. To go to either of them would just be, it'd just be perplexing for me. it'd be really, really odd. It'd stink of a rogue agent that they'd be pushing him, and I don't believe that that'd be the case. I believe that Andy will be in his ear, being like, nah, So yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I wouldn't want to see though is if he does leave, I wouldn't want to see the typical meltdown after it of like the 49ers, they've stabbed us in the back, they've done this, they've done that, they've sold him in. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to see any of that because, you'd have to be a bit brain dead not to understand that, look, if a big offer comes in, I mean, Leeds are not in a position where they can kind of pick and choose at that level. The likelihood is there's going to be a big sale coming and look, it's gone quiet on Somerville this last week. It's dried up. There's just nothing there. And, Somerville doesn't strike me as someone who's banging the door to get out, and look, I still think he'll go. But, Leeds can't gamble. If that big offer comes in the situation we're in, likelihood is you've got to take it.
You know what, Brandon? Everybody's fighting with PSR or profit and sustainability, whatever you want to call it nowadays. And everybody's kind of having this fine balancing act where they're having to try and circumnavigate a situation into being able to buy these players. And we're in a position where we have a value over them. And it doesn't sound as if we were that pushed to have to sort this situation out as much as what was initially reported. So I don't think we'll get to the the end of the summer window or the start of the season even with Archie Gray and Chris Somerville still in the side. I don't think that. But I think there is a world in which we sell some other players that we're going to come on to and potentially replace them with freebies. And we're in a situation where we're still as strong, but we've sorted out this profit and sustainability issue, which puts us in a great position from a negotiating point of view, especially with Somerville, because I think the attacking positions, given him, being Championship Player of the Season, his goals and assists return last season, he's a very, very valuable asset. Most clubs, most leagues around the world look at the Championship as being a serious player. It's a top 6 league is the Championship. Our Championship isn't comparable to the League 2 in France or Serie B. It's nothing like it. Yeah, it's massive amounts of level difference. So, I think we're in a good position from a negotiating point of view.
Yeah, agreed. Just before we move on, can we just have a look at this shirt you're wearing? Because you got this as a mystery. And I've got to say, I absolutely love it. I saw it on stream. It's a cracking shirt. Who is it then? Which club is it?
Tigres in Mexico.
Fantastic.
This side, yeah. But it's literally covered in sponsors.
It's
and all over the back.
Wow.
It's covered in them. But it is a beautiful shirt. It's really well fitting as well. And it's nice material. Obviously, it's Adidas. But yeah, it's a lovely shirt.
I'm wearing a Hollister shirt, by the way.
Nice.
There you go.
You usually sporting the Leeds shirt.
I know. I've run out now. They're on with the wash. I've done my round.
I'm just going to say, on the shirt situation, the yellow smiley badge shirt drops,
I'm going down.
Mate, it's going to be pandemonium.
I'll sell a kidney or something.
It's going to be chaos.
Getting that shirt. If it is the right yellow.
Especially with the peacocks on the bottom, that'd be nice.
What about the smiley badge? Do you think there's a chance? I mean, could they?
I think so.
For one kit, they would put that on the.
I think so, just for the away one, yeah.
Cool, just take all my money. Take all my money. Come on.
We're so nostalgic.
Oh, I tell you, that revenue leads, it'll just be climbing higher and higher, won't it, if they do something like that. It's ridiculous. Some other transfer stuff then, Jason. A big exit rumour coming around Illan Meslier, links to Marseille. Obviously, tricky one with Meslier. We spoke before about how if we'd have sold him probably that first season in the Premier League, would have made an absolute fortune. It's certainly not the case. He's had a few ropey years. Last season was hit and miss, definitely. There were some important moments for him, but there were also issues as well. Shout out, though, I did think he did very well in the final, to be fair to him, under a lot of pressure. Fair play there, Meslier. And it's one of them with Meslier. It's always been, potentially, you've got an unbelievable goalkeeper there. He looks like a modern goalkeeper, plays like a modern goalkeeper, good with his feet. I know arguments about his long range passing, but if an offer comes in from Marseille, it seems to be that he's one of their top targets. I mean, what fee are you happy with? Do you want to see it even happen? Where do you stand on it?
It's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because I think we signed Caldalo last summer because we expected Meslier to go. That I'm pretty certain that we all agree with that. And the noises that came out were that he ended up not going because he didn't want to be a number 2. He wanted to guarantee number 1. And in some cases, I respect that. Like, you know, he could have gone to Chelsea and sat on the bench, and he don't want to do that. He'd rather play in the Championship for another year. I do absolutely respect that. He's still only 24. You know, we have seen some serious capabilities from him. Goalkeepers don't hit the peak until 28, 29, 30, you know, even. So he's way, way, way before his peak yet. So he still has some value attached to him, but we have to be honest and just look at it and say it as it is. Over the last 3 seasons, he's been really poor. He's regressed and regressed and regressed. Last season, I think he was 20th or something like that for shot stopping in the division in a team that finished 3rd with 90 points. It had one of the best defenses in the league in front of him for a long part of it. And he still, you know, I think some of the goals that he conceded, especially the 3 at Middlesbrough, really stand out for some reason. Yeah. And he's just like, just save something. If a shot's coming from 25, 30 yards, you fully believe it's going in. One-on-one shot stopping when a player's running in on goal, I back him. I think he's a good goalkeeper there. I don't think his distribution's bad at all. I think his distribution is fairly good. He's good with the ball at his feet and he can play the 5, 10, 15 passes. His longer balls sometimes don't hit the accuracy, but you have to then look at who he's aiming at. You know, if you're playing a ball out to Dan James or Chris Somerville, the likelihood is that his pass is then going to lose possession. That's not Meslier's fault. So with regards to the fee, so I'm going to say straight off, I would be happy to see him leave if the money's right. From what I'm hearing, the figure is around 20 million, which I think is wild. And that's what it's been reported that the 49ers.
See you later, Illan. I'll pack your bags for that.
Be absolutely gone. I personally thought between 6 and 10 million. I thought we'd be doing well to get 10 million. In, you know, modern day perspectives. But like I said, for all the reasons just before, he's still got bags of potential. He's still only 24. He's made 200 league appearances at the age of nearly 24. Like that's something to be weighed on. You know, he's always available. He's never injured. You know, he don't get sent off. He don't make like, he's not one of these goalkeepers that comes out and makes like serious howlers and he's rushing all over the place, or don't let him go through his like he still can do all the basics. You know, like David James always comes to mind when I think of a keeper that'll just let one slide under it. He doesn't do that. He just doesn't save a lot of the ones that he just think, come on, just once every now and again, just save one of them. But yeah, for me,
Sorry, yeah, no, I was just going to say, well, he was one I was worried about in the playoff final because I thought this is like a huge situation. Wembley, 80,000, you know, everything riding on it. And I was like looking at him thinking, what we're going to get here? You know, is he going to save stuff when it comes his way? Is he going to drop a clanger? And he were solid, wasn't he, really?
Yeah, he was solid. He made a massive save at 1-0. Yeah. A massive save. So, yeah. And he has done. I mean, I think about that save against Sheffield United. I think about it all the time. It's ridiculous. In the Premier League season 1. And I mean, it didn't mean for much. We won the game 1-0. It mattered on the day, but that particular season. But it was such a fantastic reaction save. Like, it was stupid, really. It was stupidly good. And he had others. You know, in that Premier League season 1, he was sensational. Record holder for clean sheets for a keeper under the age of 21. And you know, he was setting records. You know,
it does feel like we broke him. We broke him by such a porous defense. Like the following 2 seasons, it feels like he gets a lot of grief, and it's frustrating when you're seeing him not make these saves. But then I do feel like, I mean, even that second Premier League season, he started off absolutely as he was.
Yeah, he did.
Because the defence was just getting worse and worse and worse. It was like he kind of crumbled a bit then as well. I'm like, you know, it wasn't fair that we put this guy in this position, you know, 22 at the time or whatever. You know.
I think you're absolutely spot on. I think you see it with other players throughout their careers where they'll have 1 or 2 or 3, maybe even good seasons. And then the team around them falls apart. You see it with strikers, midfielders, wherever, and they fall off. And Meslier was absolutely battered for 2 years, solid. You know, at points there was no. He was the last line of defense, but there was no defense before that. You know, we were conceding 70, 80 goals, so I get it. I absolutely get it. But then it's our problem to deal with now, isn't it? And what we do around that. I mean, we tried changing the goalkeeping coach. I do think Meslier improved last season, but the big caveat to that is that the league was a lot lower. The strikes that were coming at him were nowhere near as good. And it felt to me, and the stats back it up, in that if it had just been 5-10% better, we'd have won more games. You know, look at Hladake last season, and I know we could potentially come on to talking about him as an incoming. He saved Ipswich. Me and you were regularly watching games of Ipswich, and it's like Hladake's bloody saved 2, 3, 4 goal bounds. Meslier would have conceded them. That's what we were saying. Meslier would have conceded them, but he's kept them out, and they've gone on to win the game in the last minute. The Southampton game was exactly like that when they beat them 3-2 at theirs. So, I think he's very replaceable, especially for how often we're going to be facing shots, or hopefully how often we're going to be facing shots. We should be able to rely on a keeper that'll be in the top 10 for shot stopping.
Yeah, it does feel like that's an important piece, isn't it? Because, you know, the thing with being Leeds United goalkeeper next season, you're probably not going to have a lot to do for long periods. And then it's whether you can snap into it when that chance comes their way. Some other kind of exits. I mean, we've got one definite exit anyway. Marc Roca is finally got his permanent transfer to Betis, which kind of puts to bed that. Bit of a shame how it worked out with him, because he was someone I was very excited about when we signed from Bayern Munich. I don't think he's up to Bayern Munich's level, but I think at that time, because obviously he was a bit of a special talent, wasn't he? And then he got this big move to Bayern Munich, didn't play much. We snagged him for a really decent fee, to be fair, you know, in terms of Premier League team signing a midfielder. And, you know, we saw flashes. There was probably even a little part of me that was like, oh, imagine Roca in the Championship, you know, this season, you know, just if it happened. But it's not worked out. He's gone. He's kind of forever tainted a little bit as part of the loan. He's out, but
He would be Bielsa signing. He was talked about before Jesse Marsch. It'd have been a perfect replacement for Calvin. I mean, maybe not perfect, but a very good replacement for Calvin. His passing range is fantastic. Tackling's weren't he's an absolute forte like Calvin's was, but he's a perfect halfback. And Orta signed him, even though he didn't fit in the Jesse Marsch system, and he was probably the biggest victim of the system.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't suit him at all. He weren't fit. I mean, the squad weren't fit, but you could tell he couldn't make 60, 70 minutes. He was knackered. He got subbed every 60, 70 minutes, wasn't it? 20, 30 minutes ago, he was off. I feel like he was really harsh to treat. He's got no ill feeling from me. He's got no good feeling from me either. In that it's just a bit meh. But he's absolutely right to go back in over there. You know, Betis have had a good season. They love him over there. Pellegrini loves him. He was back in the national side. He got pneumonia around Christmas, and he had a couple of months off. He had a bit of a bad time of it around Christmas time, so he ended up losing the spot again. But he was in the Spain national side at the beginning of the season. So he's a top player. But fans won't want to admit it, but he is a top player. Yeah. His passing range was excellent. So
yeah, absolutely. In terms of other transfer rumours, outgoings, I mean, you know, Somerville link. I mean, that's all kind of gone a bit quiet, hasn't it? There's not been much for the past week. But what else has caught your eye? Potential incomings and outgoings?
Yeah, I think the Somerville deal will come out of nowhere. I think we'll hear it. I don't believe that he'll end up still being here, and I think we'll just wake up one morning and it's Chris Somerville to wherever has been agreed. This is a fee. With regards to incomings, it's mainly around the Meslier move, hasn't it? Really, over the last couple of days, two standout goalkeepers as replacement. Marc Roca from Fulham, who we've seen quite a few times over the years in the Championship. He's been up and down with Fulham. Only been replaced as their number one since they signed Bert Leno from Arsenal. Very, very good keeper in the Championship. Excellent shot stopper. I'd be very, very happy with that. And the aforementioned Hladake from Ipswich, who has found himself in a bit of a weird position in that he started last season as their number two. Christian Walton, who they'd signed from Brighton to be the number one, got a season-ending injury right at the beginning of the season, and Hladake ended up stepping up to be number one, to which then he's obviously had a fantastic season. They've got promoted, but he was at the end of his contract. So Ipswich are in a situation where, well, next season, you're not going to be number one anyway because Walton's coming back, which seems extremely harsh. But we also want to sign another keeper as well to actually be number one over Walton. So Hladake is going to have gone from being number one to being number three from a promotion-winning team. It just seems bizarre. So if we were able to make that signing, that would be a monster signing, I think. I think there'll be a lot of interest in his signature, though, and he might even get a Premier League move to somebody maybe struggling to find a solid number one. I don't know. But I definitely think he'd be of interest to the top of the Championship, Burnley, Sheffield United, these kind of clubs. I think Sheffield United are in a real problem, though. I mean, we can kind of just touch on another outgoing. It looks like Jamie Shack's going to go over there, which I think is a good move for him. I mean, if he gets a good contract, he probably gets more money than we were offering him.
Do you think?
But I just don't imagine him playing. But it shows to me the position that they're in. So Max Lowe, who is their fullback, has gone over to Sheffield Wednesday. And I can't imagine that Sheffield United wouldn't have wanted to re-sign him for his season, and it'd probably be their first choice right back. So the fact that he's had to go over to Sheffield Wednesday, and then they're looking at Jamie Shackleton as his replacement, just tells me that they're going to probably be nowhere near. I think they're going to really struggle. I mean, I'd love to see us go and pick them off for Hamer and a couple of others, even Cameron Archer again. Like there's a couple of others that I'd have from there. So if they're really struggling for finances, it's an interesting one. So that's been really it on the incomings this week. I've not seen. I don't know if you have, but I've not seen pretty much anything else.
No, it feels like it's just kind of waiting, isn't it? And then all of a sudden it'll just kind of absolutely explode.
It's looking as if Berber's going to come back.
Yeah,
that seems to be gaining more and more weight.
It's a good game, didn't he? In the final group game for Austria, didn't he? He had a really good game, didn't he?
I don't see him wanting to play Championship football. I mean, I think he's a bit arrogant, but maybe he should be. He's an international. Like I don't know. I'm kind of. We don't like what happened to him last season.
No,
he was going to be his captain.
He was only here 6 months, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was on the posters. like,
mad.
Yeah, he was kind of going to be the linchpin of Farke's system, and then Mönchengladbach and Chester, right? See you, I'm off. Like,
right.
It all felt a little bit treacherous, didn't it? But they did have these loan clauses, and you can't blame these players at the same time. No.
And I'm like, are we really going to sign a better centre back than Max Verber in this transfer window?
Absolutely not.
I mean,
absolutely not.
If he comes back and does the business for Leeds, I do not give a damn what happened 12 months ago. And I know it kind of, what about this, what about that? But for me, and this is how I feel about this season, Jason, is it's just got to be promotion. It's got to be at least, well, I don't want to even mess about the playoffs. It's got to be automatic. It's got to start well, and it's just got to be strong all the way through. Every team has a dip, I can appreciate, but like you said before, I want us clear. And if Max Verber comes in and contributes to that and plays at the level that we know he was, I mean, when he first came in, we were all very impressed with him, and he seemed to fit in perfectly. I don't give a damn, to be completely honest. I don't care. I absolutely don't care. It's like Nonto last year, transfer request, all right, we don't like you. 2 weeks later, he's scoring goals for us. Fine, whatever. Just get out of this division. Just get out of this division.
It's part of football, isn't it, Browney? Like, it's just part of the landscape of the way that football works. For Max Verber, you have to put yourself in the position of the player. If he doesn't go back to the Bundesliga last season and play well for Mönchengladbach, is he playing in the last of the 16 for Austria right now? He's probably not. He's probably considered a Championship player. It's not good enough. Like, he'll be third, fourth, fifth choice centre back for Austria, but he's not right now. So I get it. I totally and utterly understand it. I think Nonto's an interesting one. I had a bit of back and forward with somebody on socials the other day with regards to him. For me, like, if he's a replacement for Somerville on the left, I'm okay with that. But if we got an offer for 20-25 million, I'd be all right with that as well. Because I think he's replaceable, mate. And I don't want another season of the attitude and the throwing your hands up and laughing at referees and all that. Like, and I get that some of that comes with the player, but you didn't see it from Cree. Like, you just get your head down and get on with it. You don't see it from Dan James. And Dan James was far more effective than Nonto over the whole of last season. I'm not having this, like, argument that he's not as good of a player as Nonto. Technically, he's not as gifted as Willie Nonto. I get that. But at Championship level, I would say Dan James is far more effective. So Nonto for me is dispensable. But I would be happy with him having that spot on the left because I do think he's more comfortable out there than Cree. So,
absolutely. Guys, please do like the video if you're watching along as well and subscribe to the channel. Great point here from Michael. The 49ers do their business quietly. The signings of Rodon, Gruev, Ampadu were not even mentioned by Leeds content creators and not on the radar. I mean, me personally, all these kind of transfer rumours and Twitter accounts and everything, I'll be honest, I largely ignore it.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely, for the reason that Michael says there, because those signings came out of nowhere, and I don't care about tenuous links to whoever, and getting, my knickers in a twist about this player coming in and that player coming in. It's just absolutely pointless when the 49ers are around, because we know how they like to get business done. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I think we're going to have a busy month. I think July is going to be popping off. I think
it's going to be really busy.
One thing I did want to mention as well that I've been keeping an eye on is our old friend, Mr. Marcelo Bielsa at the Copa America with Uruguay. They look like the team of the tournament so far, absolutely flying. Another big win for them the other night. And obviously we know what Bielsa's like when he's not like Jesse Marsh, where when he's out of work, he's doing master classes and interviews every 5 minutes. He stays out of the limelight. We know this is what the guy's like. He's humble, he's low key, he's super professional, everything like that. But now, obviously, Copa America's here. Uruguay, one of the favourites. We're getting goal clips from Uruguay, and it's like watching Leeds back in the day. We're seeing press conference clips of Bielsa, and
makes your heart swell, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really, it's like, yeah, because I mean, like when you said in the group the other day, and it's bittersweet for me, because you just the whole thing of him, I just absolutely adore the guy. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, this man is just it, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I'm just, it's gutting that he's not our manager anymore. I'm
honestly, I find myself a bit confused with the fact that I feel like I do about him. When I'm talking about him, and like other people are not getting it, i.e. Chris and Downsy in the group, and we're trying to kind of explain and make our point and almost push our point, because we are that passionate about it. Like, it literally just makes me just smile when I see him so much. Like, the interview with Bentancur the other day just absolutely had me, like, honestly, I watched it about 4 or 5 times, because I watched his face when he says no back to him, and then Bielsa comes out with you can see how much that my message kind of partakes onto my players, and he's got a bit of a wry smile on his face. I just love him. The guy is absolutely sensational. Like, to have that ability to win the hearts and minds of people and of footballers, people that are paid an astronomical amount of money and live in a bit of a different bubble to the rest of us, to get them to be so in unison, to play in a style. I think international football is even more impressive, because you spend less time with them. It just shows you the mark of the man.
Well, look at England and how disorganised, and how there doesn't seem to be any tactical blueprint. There doesn't seem to be any idea of how to play. Doesn't seem to be any attacking phases of play or anything. And then you look at Bielsa with Uruguay and how he's been in the job a fraction of the time Southgate has, and yet it's so coordinated. It's the patterns.
Can you imagine watching it? Could you imagine watching it with these players, man? I mean, we saw Luke Ayling, Helder Costa, Jack Harrison, Alioski, some of the movements, Matthias Click, Pablo Hernandez. We saw these players who, were all amazing to us in their own way, but they're not Jude Bellingham. They're not, Harry Kane, Jack Grealish, Saka, whoever else. Like, can you imagine what it would look like? It would just be sensational. And I mean, like I say, I know fans and in our group, people poke fun at us because we are so obsessed with the man. But it's because we know. We just know a little bit better on this. And I would absolutely love everybody to have him. Yeah, like I am from a Leeds United perspective. I don't want any other English club to have him, but from an England fan perspective, I would love everybody to be able to enjoy him, because he's just sensational. The guy is just, honestly,
it's a different level, isn't it? It's a completely different level. When he's managed your club and you experience that firsthand, he
can knock out USA as well, by the way, in the last game of the group. I don't know if you know that. So USA lost to Panama.
Thomas Christiansen.
Yeah, I know, up the Christensen. So yeah, if USA lose to Uruguay, they're out already at the Copa America, which is just crazy, isn't it? It could be that Canada and Uruguay end up playing at some point, but I believe they have to get to the final. I think Canada have to get to the final for the any chance for them to cross. So
fair play to Jesse Marsh if he gets Canada to the final.
Absolutely,
what an achievement! Because our friend of the show, Nancy Froston, Athletics Leeds United writer, she's actually popped an article, and this is kind of what inspired me talking about it as well. And it actually ties into particularly our group chat and how the others don't really understand that connection, because she has put in their title, it's Leeds fans in the USA, will they be supporting Bielsa or the American national team? And that is what we were saying is, if Bielsa was in charge, he's in charge of Uruguay, and it was Uruguay versus England. There's that kind of thing of that loyalty to Bielsa where you're like, I would still like to do well for Bielsa because it's that thing of Bielsa. And they were just like, Chris and Steve are like, no, I don't get it, Neil Warnock.
They don't get it, mate. They don't. And you know what? I feel sorry from the fact that they don't, because they've just never had somebody. I did kind of sell Lewis out a little bit because I said that privately he'd agreed with what I'd said, and obviously he had his own version of it
as well. I know Keegan Newcastle thing was,
and I'm not saying that I would want England to lose to Uruguay. I'm not. What I was saying is that my feeling, my loyalties would be split. Because I want so much success for him. He's just an unbelievable guy, and the way that it makes me, I'm willing to bet if Uruguay get to the final of the Copa America, there will be Leeds shirts within that crowd. Like, there's no other manager in world football that would do that. Like, there's not, and I don't believe there's other fan bases that would go after an old manager like that and go over to wherever it's been held and watch the final. There will be, though, won't there? There'll be Leeds fans waiting there for a signature as Bielsa comes on way in, and we absolutely adore the man.
What I would love, I mean, it never happened. I don't think it's not his style to even kind of talk about it, but I would love someone at a press conference to just ask him about all Leeds, just to get some comment from him publicly about Leeds. I would just love it. I really would.
I'm hoping he'll come for the testimonial, the Liam Cooper testimonial. I can see that happening because I think he would want to do it for Coops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I could see him doing that, coming over and managing a Championship Leeds 11, get Helder Costa back and some of these.
Don't talk this
I can see that. I can see that.
God,
and I mean, he was asked, wanted to have the training ground renamed after him, and he turned it down. I don't believe he turned that down now. I think he turned it down because of what happened with Radzonata.
Yeah.
I think he would probably accept that now. I'd love that. Imagine the Marcelo Bielsa Academy or the Marcelo Bielsa training ground.
What other manager have? He's got a stadium named after him, Newell's Stadium, and then bloody training ground in a totally, other hemisphere. Like, I mean,
do you know he paid for their training ground over in Newell's All Boys? Like, he paid for that out of his own money. Like, what manager does that? That when he got done for Spygate, he paid for that himself. What other manager does that? Like, I could talk about him all day, mate. You have to move on. Honestly, I could talk about him all day.
It's wild, isn't it? Probably the big news or the latest was the release of the fixtures for the championship. My kind of my heart sinks a little bit. Actually, I'm not going to lie when I see it, because I'm not particularly that excited for what these fixtures are going to be. Let's have a look anyway. If I can find it, where is it?
Just what you find in that. I don't know if any Leeds fans have seen it, but if you just type in Leeds United into Twitter, the top post is from Leeds United Espanyol, so the verified Leeds United account in Spain, 22 hours ago, with Man I'm Stylish, and it's a picture of Chris Somerville in Leeds pajamas, like a vest and shorts, with then his three Leeds shirts around him. Go and have a look. I don't know what that means.
Well, this is the thing, but he's been doing this though. Like, there's so much like stuff where he's like did a giveaway on Instagram, and he's like Leeds giveaway, and I'm like, what are you doing to us, Cree? Don't tease us. Don't tease us, mate. Don't tease us, for God's sake.
Second link is Charlie Cresswell to Toulouse for 3.8 million. That's been doing a little bit of getting a little bit of traction. I think that's going to happen. I think he will move on. And I won't be disappointed with that. I think Pitt fans are like, it's sad to see a young player leave, but he clearly isn't good enough. He would have played more last season. And we haven't seen enough. We haven't seen enough to say that Daniel Farke's wrong. So
exactly. So here we go. These are the fixtures. I mean, it is the championship, so it's going to be very championshipy. But when I saw that, and you see Portsmouth, and you actually called Portsmouth.
I did.
I think you probably thought it was going to be away, but I mean,
I did call away. Yeah.
It's still an unreal shout, to be fair, Portsmouth, and that's exactly what we got. I mean, you look at that first month: Portsmouth, West Brom, Sheffield Wednesday, Hull. I mean, it's
a rough month.
It's a tricky month. It's a hard start. Is that? Because we don't know what Portsmouth are going to be like, do we? If they continue that momentum from last season, they could have a. But please don't be the next Ipswich, for God's sake. We don't need that. But
I'd say the first 7 are tricky, mate. If I'm honest.
Well, yeah. I mean, you go on to September and Burnley, Cardiff, Coventry, and then you go into October, Norwich, Sunderland, Sheffield. Watford. I mean, where does it get easier? It's mad.
That's the championship, isn't it? It is the championship all over. And I mean, I'm a bit similar to you. I were a bit like, we're here again. And I mean, I was relieved when I looked at it and didn't see Huddersfield. That was quite nice. We don't need to worry about having that.
That is one of the few positives from it. That I was thinking that the other day. I was kind of going, right, we've had the fixture, and I was like, we don't have to play Huddersfield. We don't have any of that.
It is nice.
Which is nice.
That's just nice not to have it. Like, I mean, I'm a bit disappointed it gets replaced with Sheffield United because I don't really like playing them either. But at least that's a derby with a bit of like actual tension.
Yeah, exactly. So you're looking around the Christmas period as well. Stoke away Boxing Day, followed by Derby away 3 days later. I mean, Derby, that's just another abysmal one. We finish up at the end as well. Plymouth away on the last day of the season. I mean, what a trip. Hopefully it's done long and well before then.
Brownie, we played Derby twice in the same month.
And
that's gross. I've only just noticed
Talk about ruining Christmas. Jesus.
Oxford at home on the 21st. What even is this?
We just this is a thing as well. Like pre Bielsa, I was like, we absolutely are a championshipy club. We absolutely are. We finished 15th in the championship. Obviously, since then it's elevated. We've got these owners who are exceptionally wealthy. And I just feel like we're beyond this now. We're beyond this bloody league. We really are. And it's a killer that we didn't get promoted last season. It really is, because I'm just done with it. The thing is for me is, and it seems ridiculous because Farke got us 90 points last season, got us to a playoff final, but he's the one I'm looking at going, what he does has to be absolutely on it from the start. Because for me, I think if it doesn't work out with Farke, I think you go absolutely ambitious with your next managerial appointment. I think you hire a Premier League manager in the Championship. And when I say Premier League manager, I don't mean they're at a Premier League club. That caliber, you get a Premier League caliber manager, and you go, look, if we get back to the Premier League, we're going places. You give them, pay them a shit ton of money, whatever it costs. Get them in and just get it done. Get it done.
Go get Bielsa.
After he's won Copa America, just be like, come on, come back.
What I will say to looking at them fixtures is the division is weaker than last season. I'm not having that. It's not. I would even say that the bottom 3 that have gone down, maybe with the exception of Rotherham, are not as strong as the ones coming up. You know what I mean? Portsmouth, I think, could be potential, but they've been out of this division a long time. What Ipswich did last season were a bit of a freak, and certainly the 3 coming down are not as strong as the 3 that came down last season. Losing Leicester and Southampton and replacing them with Burnley and Luton, because I think Sheffield United are going to be way out of it. It's not the same. It's just not the same. So I think Luton are going to be a problem. Burnley I'm not decided on yet. I mean, they've not even got a new manager yet. So I think you're absolutely right. I think we're going to probably be weaker in individual quality. Joe Rodon, Chris Somerville, but I think the squad will be better. I think the feel of the team, the balance of the team will be better. I think we'll plug the gaps that we needed: a proper right back, a proper 10, a proper box-to-box midfielder, another proper centre back. I think we'll look better. So it'll be interesting.
No excuses.
No excuses, mate. None from me. I think Farke's got 8 weeks to make sure that we're in that top 2 comfortably, like I said before. If he's not, I think he'll be under pressure. Yeah,
because you'll never get a better base to work from as a championship manager than what this club is right now. You've just signed a record-breaking deal with Red Bull, which is basically taking your foot off your throat for selling players for this season. So it means it's not a desperate scramble, what it could have been. You've got a situation where we might not even have to make the big sell. You know, there's even rumours of that. I mean,
if anything, Brownie, because the season 1 loan release clauses put us in a bit of a position. We're seeing this summer, because there were only 2 that had it, Jack Harrison and Marc Roca. Marc Roca's now signed permanently. Jack Harrison's gone back out on loan. All of the others don't have the same sway. So we're in a position where we're saying, right, this is your valuation. I get that you want to leave, but we've got a valuation and you've signed a contract with us. If that valuation's met, you can leave. If it's not, you best get your ass into gear and play some football, because if you don't, your valuation's going to drop even further and you're going to be stuck. So look, Daniel Farke's created something here, reintegrate, get back at it and play some football, you know? So, and that's it. So Max Verber, Brendan Aronson, Rasmus Christensen, these players are going to have to come back in and put the play in. I mean, I think Rasmus would probably look at a place in League One. I think it's that bad. I can't believe he's played last season in Europe for Roma and whatnot. But maybe he can come back and play a part at right back. I'm not sure. But Brendan Aronson, I'm really excited to see. I am. And if Verber comes back in, because Verber don't get a move, he'll be the best centre back in the Championship. He will.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's full steam ahead, really, and it is a completely different summer to last year. Like you said, they had us by the balls, didn't they? Those players with the long contracts, you know, and you look at things like Brendan Aronson choosing to stay at a Championship club when he could have gone again. You know, what does that say for the state? I mean. There must be managers that will give their right arm to manage Leeds at the moment. They would absolutely be. They will give their right arm to actually do this. Do you know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
100%. Like, you know, the end of the day, like the squad, the way that it is, and the backing that it's got, the Red Bull backing, the youngsters that we've got in and around the squad available. You know, it 100% will be a squad that any manager would want to have. You know, you're talking about potentially Dan James not starting games or not being good enough to start games on the right. And any club, my argument to this guy on social media the other day was any club in the division would want to have Dan James on their right wing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
100%.
No, absolutely. I think you're spot on. I mean, for me, it's 6 games with Farke. I think it's 6 games. I think the first 6 games, like, mate, you better be on this. You better be doing this, because I just think, you know, it's what it's got to be. So yeah, we'll see. We'll take it from there. We'll see what we get. Myself and Jason will be back on Monday night's show for the West Yorkshire football roundup, where we're going to be looking a little bit at what's happening in clubs in the local area. We're going to be probably chatting a little bit about the Euros as well, and there might be something post England tomorrow, because obviously it's a big game there. It's second round of the European Championship, so we'll see how we get on there. Check out the page for other content. So we've got a really good Bradford City video out at the moment with Gaz and friend of the show, Jason McEwen from the Width of the Post, where they're breaking down what happened at the fans forum the other night. So please do check that out. But myself and Jason will be back again soon. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like the video if you've watched along. Please comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Jason, thank you very much for popping on this morning, mate.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll catch you again soon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.